Hello there lads, welcome to part 2 of our RLCS prediction videos, and this time we're going to be going through Europe. The spot is still here. And this is probably the hardest European region to predict, well, ever, and only for one reason. We have nothing to go off with these teams. I am completely shooting in the dark here. Usually by this point we've had like a DreamHack Leipzig to sort of see roughly where the teams are heading into the season. Zero. Nil point. We're getting to the point where we need preseason friendlies. You know what? I'd be happy to watch Endpoint against Renault Vitality out in the middle of Stoke. So yeah, no time to ease into these new rosters. You're going straight in to the RLCS weekend, which is quite the ask. So let's move on to number 10. And this is one I don't want to say aloud, but I'm going with TSM. Losing Alpha was a big deal, and they brought in Magnus. We finally get the Metzer and Magnus partnership back, but the question is, where are the goals going to come from? Alpha was sort of that creator role, that team. He was the one that would split teams open and give them a chance to try and score. This team, I don't know where that happens. It really does seem like they're going to have to try and grind out their opponents 1-0 most of the time, which might actually mean that we get the glorious 1-0, 1-0, 1-0 victory. Everyone will be so bored by that result, but if you do check out our live watch streams, I will be going mental for it. So TSM, I haven't really got much hope for their season, but I've got hope that they'll give me the result that I want. Singularity. They've been boot camping, which is good to see, which sort of was a little bit thrown off. This is a talented roster in a stacked region. And again, I actually think this is a team that is capable of 3 wins, even in this position. I think it's going to be another very condensed region yet again this season, much like it was last time. I think they're 100% going to fight for it. I don't quite know if they've got the quality there to try and overtake some of these other teams. 8th, Endpoint. It is good to see Endpoint back in Rocket League. We have not seen them since the Gfinity Elite Series days. It's almost nostalgic in a way to get a team of theirs back in. And finally, we get ourselves a Spanish player in the RLCS. A region that has been criminally underrepresented in the RLCS for the amount of players that they've got. In there, we've also got Relating Wave and Virtuoso, which is just a team of players that a lot of casuals out there are just going to look at and completely ignore because there's not any recognizable names there. But having seen them play, I think they might have enough to avoid the drop. I would struggle to put it any higher, especially against some of these established teams, but I think they're the second most likely of the new promoted teams to make a bit of a dent, which means that we move on to number 7, and I'm gonna really annoy some people with this one. Barca Esports. I have no idea how this team is supposed to function. Every time I try and theorycraft this, I look at it and just go, okay, but how though? They've taken out Bluey, who is so good at transitioning the ball from his side of the field to the other side of the field, and they have brought in Flakes. Now, overall, that doesn't really change the team dynamic too much, but as good as Flakes is at ball control, I don't think he's as good at that role as Bluey is. I could easily see this team getting stuck in their own side of the field for lengthy periods of time. You look at the roster and it's either boom or bust. And I'm a pessimist, so we're going bust. But the thing is as well with this team is that you can look at them in week 1, and I almost don't feel like we can judge them based on that. This team, it's going to be very wavy in terms of form. Barca, I'm not expecting much in terms of results, but I'm expecting a wild ride in terms of performance. 6th. AS Monaco. It is good to see iGnite back. This is going to sound surprising to some of you guys, but I actually came really close to putting these guys second. And there is a reason for that. They're a team of castaway players that have been on RLCS teams that have fought their way back into the top leagues and are looking to try and get their revenge. Now, I wonder if that sounds similar to a certain Veloce team that we saw last season. Plus, Europe always seems to throw some sort of random curveball at us every single season, so Monaco seems like the most likely one to me. Oh my god, TSM are going to finish first, aren't they? But on form, Ignite is one of the most lethal strikers in the world. Extra has been just making a surge over these past few months. I think, though, Tigray is the one with the most to prove here. He sort of has been overlooked, but it feels like more talking comes from outside of the game than it does inside the game. This is the season, Tigray. We need to see it. 5th, Veloce. Look, Veloce are a team that don't play blinding Rocket League, but they don't play bad Rocket League. They're sort of middling, which is the reason why I've put them exactly here. They definitely play in a way that makes it easy to justify this spot. The question is, though, is that chip still on their shoulder? Part of me thinks I should just put them 10th, because they always seem to perform better when they're trying to prove someone wrong, and now that they're sort of accepted as a top team, maybe that makes a difference. No roster changes here. I mean, why should you? I think many people believe this team overperformed last season. I think they did a little bit as well. But whenever you do that, you don't change it. You can then have another good season and make sure that that's sort of established as the norm. Yeah, I really don't have much to say on this one. Veloce 5th. 4th place, Reciprocity. This team has been together forever at this point, and I spoke earlier on about Barcelona having peaks and troughs. Reciprocity, very much in the same manner. The only thing that pushes them above Barca is I think I know what to expect from Reciprocity. I have, like I said, no idea what to expect from Barcelona. I think for a team that can be seen to rely on one player as much as they do in a game like Rocket League, where being consistent is just oh so very difficult, it does lead to a lot of times where they just look completely flat. And speaking of completely flat, Mousesports, the end of last season, let's not see that again. They were so close to going to LAN, and they just stopped. I don't know what happened. But this season they've brought in Scrub Killer. Mechanically is an upgrade. It's sort of good to see that they've kept the bond with a lot despite him being moved on. And by the way, hopefully a lot does well in the rival series. But Cooksir, Speed, Scrub Killer, it definitely seems like it's a team that, I know they despise me using this word, but it seems like a momentum team. I think they need a streak, and I think they need to keep that streak going for a while. Because once it starts going wrong, oh my, this could combust. I think if they can do that, and if they can just sort of shake off losses whenever they happen, this could be a very scary team. But if they get into a mindset of one loss just sliding them down to the edge of the table, they could be in a bit of trouble. But as you can see from my prediction, I think they're going to do well enough to get themselves a 3rd spot. 2nd place, Renault Vitality. I think they're proven at this point. We sort of know that Fairy Peak and K-Up are always going to perform. Alpha doesn't have that many bad performances under his belt. This is going to be a scary team. Yes, they did move Scrub off and brought in Alpha. I don't really see that move making, you know, much movement in terms of their levels for the time being. This might make a bigger difference towards the end of the season, but I'm talking sort of World Championship sort of time. So whilst this is a bit more of an investment for the future, I could see them still getting 2nd, and if they do, this is going to be very scary because they are only going to get better, much like how our #1 team did last season, Dignitas. Now, I've seen a whole bunch of people saying, oh, let's get on board of the Dignitas hype train. Boys, I've been on that hype train since last season, since week 1 when they lost to Veloce. Trust me, during our replay analysis streams, I was on this. So not only am I on the hype train, I'm stamping the tickets. Play absolutely gorgeous Rocket League that for some reason sometimes just doesn't actually result in goals. They have a ridiculously low shot to goal ratio, which I don't know how they've managed. But if anyone has heard the comms video, it looks like a solid enough team dynamic in there. We saw them improving throughout the entirety of last season to the point where they peaked at the World Championship, and there's no reason why that peak shouldn't continue on to this season. I've heard from a bunch of people that scrims with Dignitas are looking scary, but that is the end of my predictions video, lads. If you want to try and put your predictions into the comments down below, I certainly will not stop you. Join us this weekend for our watch-along streams, where we'll be starting an hour before both broadcasts, so you can pop in and drop your predictions in there. We're live every single day at 3 p.m. GMT over at twitch.tv/CallumTheShogun. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you this weekend, lads.